there's what's called the suffering risk. So if we teach AI to help us heal and get better, the worry is that these AI systems could, if they wanted to, torture us, heal us, torture us, heal us, torture us, heal us, till the end of time. This is just one of many, but the biggest risk I see out there is what's called M risk, which is the meaning risk.
All right, guys, welcome to another edition of Beyond the Science. We are live here at Savannah State University, here with my co-host Joseph Adams and Darius Cooper. And we're back here with Dr. Adam Ventura. Let's welcome back to the show, guys. Yeah, it was like a year ago we were here having a good time and bringing back some memories.
Bassa.
The student union. Yeah, that was a good time. Savannah's always good to us. So we got some exciting updates to talk about you guys today. First, I want to start out with Adam. Adam's been traveling on the road, doing his thing. Give us some updates with how life's been for you, Adam.
Pretty good, man. Just really busy. You know, when you're expanding your family, I feel like you have to find a way to expand your schedule. And that doesn't always work out so well. So it's a little bit of a challenge. My wife's going to be delivering with our second in August. So just trying to work out all of the nuances.
Congratulations on that.
Keeping me busy.
I know another boy, right?
Another boy. Yeah, absolutely.
I remember last time we were in Miami, we had the conference that he broke it on the show. So I was just going to get an update with how, August is coming like nobody's business.
Well, yeah, since we met, my wife already decided that we're going to have a third baby.
Correct.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah. It's like behavior momentum. Exactly. And actually, as we were on the way to dinner last night, she was like running through names with me already. Yeah. And I'm like, look, man, we haven't even had this. What are you doing?
Awesome.
But they say to get them out the way though, right? It's kind of get them one by one.
Yeah.
You can talk about that.
I just have one. So from what I've heard, it's harder going from 1 to 2 than 2 to 3.
Okay.
So that's what all my friends tell me. Going from 1 to 2 is like, woof. But going from 2 to 3 is like, I'll just jump in the car, eat the dirt,
they've been here.
Play. They're good. But 1 to 2, for those first few months.
Well, what I'm hoping is like by the time we get to 3 that I can set up some sort of management structure where like our oldest is helping to manage the others and stuff like that, start delegating responsibility and
Spoken like a true behavior analyst.
Until they play soccer. Or until they play basketball.
Okay, so let me ask Adam, when you're not in dad mode or you're not in businessman mode, what is Adam doing to decompress?
So all I do is family, work, and exercise. Go to the gym.
So going to the gym.
That's it, man.
Okay.
That's the entirety of my life.
Every day, right? You pretty much work out every day, right? Or
there's some days that I work out twice. I'll go in the morning and then I'll go in the evening time. And so I don't like drink or smoke or anything like that. So that's how I keep myself calm is I'll go in the morning. I usually lift in the morning and then in the evening time I run. So I get all that stress out, kind of the 2 different points of the day.
Smart.
That keeps me calm and I can go to sleep at night and that sort of thing. So
I could not drink, but smoke, I don't know, dog. We live stressful lives now, all right?
It's a good stress reliever. I kind of went a couple of weeks without working out recently. I'm like, man, it's you get in there and you sweat. It just really kind of releases a lot, especially with the line of work that we're all doing can get, really stressful. So, I commend you. 7 days a week is all.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Sometimes twice, 2 days. That's a lot. That's a lot. So I'm excited about this episode, guys. We have a lot that we're going to dive into. I would be remiss if I don't say that this episode is probably brought to you by Intraverbal AI. If you're a BACB, a clinic owner, or even a tech trying to stay on top of your documentation, programming, all that good stuff, please check out Intraverbal AI. Adam's going to talk about some updates, but it's just not another tool. It's actually designed for clinicians, practitioners, how we think and operate in ABA. So we're going to dive into some updates, what's been rolling out lately. So Adam, for the new people who are new listeners or don't even know anything about Intraverbal AI, can you just quickly talk about what it is that you guys have been doing and some updates for us?
Yeah. So Intraverbal AI is AI for behavior analysts. So our mission is to help behavior analysts be better at their jobs. So every tool that we develop with that technology is designed to allow them to focus more on behavior analysis and less on other things. So we've got a variety of different tools that do different things, but the idea is none of us, it's interesting because we were just speaking to another behavior analyst that was here just a few minutes ago, and she was telling us that she doesn't have a lot of experience with authorizations, and zero of us went to school for authorizations or for paperwork or for billing or for scheduling or anything like that. So all of the tools that we develop are designed specifically to help behavior analysts be better at ABA and not have to worry about paperwork.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember last time we spoke, I got to come to you with this one. We were talking about some updates. You had some stuff for studying. People were studying for the exam and doing that. I want to get an update because somebody had a question in our DMs about that a couple of weeks ago. So can you give us an update with people that are studying, what you guys got going on for there?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's top of mind, actually. So we developed a tool that we call Intraverbal Tutor. So the idea is let me back up a little bit. So we actually set up licensure agreements with different academic publishers so that we could connect this technology to the books and to all of the journal articles in behavior analysis. So this particular tool is connected to like 30,000 different journal articles and books in behavior analysis. And, when you look at a lot of different BACB test prep softwares, they'll say things like, hey, we've got a mock exam with 300 questions or 500 questions, or, we have access to 1,000 unique questions that'll test your knowledge. The way that we set up the system is it's unlimited. It's unlimited questions. We've got a mock exam section. We've got a fluency section. We've got a quiz section. And most importantly, we've got a tutor, an actual tutor. And it functions like a real live tutor would that's connected to all the literature. Wow. And what it does is it's a smart tutor. And the way that we set it up is that it actually analyzes the progress of the person using the system and tells them where they have deficits and says, hey, you need to go back to and work on your fluency on domain C or domain D or something like that. And when they go into the mock exam or the fluency trials, kind of like SAFMEDs, it's unlimited. So they can go in and every time they do a mock, it's a new set of questions. And it will set up questions in such a way that it helps you to address your specific deficits. So it's very individualized, it's connected to the literature, and it's really unlimited. It allows you to go in there and practice as much as possible, gives you updates on where you are progress-wise. So
when you say unlimited, do questions repeat?
No, absolutely not. Yeah. So the way that we designed it is unlimited questions, and it generates new questions on the back end periodically. So we don't want you going through the same questions. So we want you to be able to generalize your understanding from the training setting to the exam setting. So one of the ways that we do that is we set up unlimited questions that never repeat.
So are you guys doing the 40-hour RBC as well?
No, that's not our thing. Eventually, we might do test prep for the RBT exam, but for right now, we're just doing BACB test prep, and we'll see how that goes.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, so let me ask, right? Because I'm take the side of RBTs. I feel like there's as many RBTs who want to get into the field or need that 40-hour training and test prep, as BCBA candidates. So, why is the decision to necessarily not? Because that software sounds like it would be amazing for RBTs and other people and not just people trying to get the BCBA exam. So why don't you guys want to touch that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We do. And it's on our roadmap. But what we wanted to do was we wanted to get this right. So what we did on the back end is we're teaching behavior analysis using behavior analysis instructional design methodologies. So we're using precision teaching with fluency trials, pinpointing exactly what you need, PSI, personalized system of instruction, that sort of thing. And we want to get this right. And then once we do, we're going to replicate it over to the RBTs.
It sounds like Intraverbal AI. First of all, every time I'm sitting next to this guy, he's always up to something, man. I always tell him all the time he inspires me, but it sounds like Intraverbal AI has a little bit of something for everybody. It's starting to be kind of like we're expanding out across, now we have people studying for the exam. So you guys are bringing in people who are maybe BACBs or RBT studying, all the way from high level clinicians that are running operations. So, it just sounds like you guys are just continuing to expand, man. Your team is doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's the idea, is we want to help in as many different areas as possible. And we stick to behavior analysis. So we want to make sure that we're helping people be better clinicians or researchers or students of behavior analysis. And we're staying away from some of the things that we were talking about earlier, like authorizations and billing and that sort of thing. I didn't go to school for that. I went to school for behavior analysis. So that's my specialty. That's what we focus on.
Yeah. Yeah, and Joe, you use it.
Yeah, I use it a lot, and thanks for that function, because Breon Cornelius, shout out to her. She's an SSU grad. She is a BCBA with Adams Behavior Consultant, and she's over the supervision fieldwork class. So we will definitely continue to use that function. And Adam, I hear you have breaking news for every SSU student that comes that they're able to. Keep that in, Nico. That they're able to access this product for
free.
Oh,
it's on camera now.
Absolutely.
It's on camera now.
Oh, man. No, this is awesome. So, all right, if you are studying for the BCBA exam, there's a lot of other products out there. We have some friends doing some great things, but check out Intraverbal AI. Check out what they're doing. It sounds like it's a great product. I love the feedback component of telling you what areas that you may need to improve upon. So we're excited to get more updates what that's going on with Intraverbal AI. Shifting gears here. So you are here to do a talk.
Yes, absolutely. So I was very fortunate that you guys set up this talk at SSU, and very fortunate to SSU for inviting me over. And I'm going to be talking about kind of a balance between behavior analysis, AI, and the ethics, combining everything together. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think really, to be honest with you guys, as we move forward, we're going to get to a place where it's eventually going to be unethical not to use AI.
You said that at the beginning, man.
Yeah,
it's stuck with me.
I went back and forth. I kind of vacillated back and forth. I said it originally. I'm like, I don't know. And I've been going back and forth a lot. And I really do think we're going to get to that place where if you're not using it, it's going to be difficult for you to do your job well, at least compared to other behavior analysts in the field that are.
I want to give you a chance here, Adam, because I remember when you first said that, people were all in the comment section and Adam said this. All right. Could you zoom in a little bit? When you say you think it would be unethical to do so, could you give us maybe some examples, or what do you feel like what would be unethical in that part of, say, 5 years down the line for not using AI?
So the original problem that we wanted to solve was, when we started putting the system together, was the evidence-based practice problem. So, and I used to refer to this as the binder problem. So when you go to work with clients, whether it's in a clinic or in homes or schools, wherever it is, you can't bring 30,000 articles with you. It's just not possible. You can't remember that many articles. But we're still expected to review the research for our different, for the clients that we're working with. So what we did was we connected this technology to all of those articles so that you could literally ask a question in 5 to 6 seconds later, get a comprehensive answer. Now, will that solve all of your problems? No. Will that tell you exactly what to do with that client? No. But it will allow you to start contacting the research on a more regular basis regarding all of the client problems that you have. So you can effectively reach out, and this will actually allow me to segue into something that we did recently. But these systems will allow you to reach out and say, how many studies have been done on using conflict reinforcement schedules with clients that are 4 years old, diagnosed with autism, and you can map all of this stuff together. And we've never been able to do that before. And we have this technology available now where you can identify, it's kind of the wisdom of the crowds. So what you can do is you can explore all of the research and see what worked best with the different types of clients that you're working with. And if you have that technology available and you don't use it, I feel like you're leaving a lot on the table. And if I was a parent of, we were just talking about being parents, if I was a parent of a child that had special needs and this technology was out there and the practitioners weren't using it, I'd be upset, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
I would.
You know, so
Adam, I'm a 19-year-old college sophomore. This is the year 2002. This is when Cliff Notes was it.
Remember that?
I remember that. Now I'm a 19-year-old sophomore. The year is 2026, right? I'm attending your talk and I'm just wondering, where will the field be when I graduate with my BCBA? Let's say the year is 2032 and AI within that. Can you give us a glimpse of what it may look like?
Yes. So it's interesting. There's an AI company called Palantir, Palantir AI. They do a lot of work with the defense industry and they work with the government. And the CEO recently came out, Alex Karp, I believe his name is. And he came out recently a few weeks ago and he said the two types of people that will be most successful in the future with regards to AI will be, and I believe he said autists. So people that have that are not necessarily diagnosed with autism, but that people that think in that way.
Correct.
Or people that attend trade schools. And he kind of pointed in those two directions. And I think that there's a lot of insight to that. So I think people that work with these technology, and I think that's what he was trying to communicate. The people that work with these technologies are going to be successful. And then people that are working hands-on. So he was talking about like trades out there. So you're working in HVAC or plumbing or electrician or something like that. All of those fields are going to be the ones that kind of survive this initial wave of AI. I think he left out a third area, which are human-related fields.
Social
like
services.
ours. Social services, exactly. This is what we do. And I've mentioned this before in a whole bunch of different podcasts, but what we do requires a human being to teach another human being how to improve the behaviors of being a human being. And you need a human being to do that. So if you think about it again from a parent's perspective, you want to make sure that if somebody's going to work with my kids, I want to make sure that it's another person. I don't want it to be a robot. I don't want them to sit in front of a screen. I want them to be able to sit next to somebody, pick up on facial expressions and mannerisms. And the whole point of what we do, a big part of what we do, is social skills. You know, I want my kids to be able to interact with other human beings better. And I think that's a big part of what we do. And you need human beings to do that. So I see behavior analysis as being human focused for a very long time. I wouldn't be concerned about that at all. I actually feel like our field, along with those other industries that the CEO of Palantir mentioned, are going to be the safest, are going to be the ones that don't have AI replacing a lot of their workers. And then just on a side note, I'm not as concerned about the AI apocalypse as everybody is. So just to talk about that just for a quick minute, because I think it's an interesting discussion. So the big concern with regards to AI is the what people call the alignment problem. So are these systems' values and goals aligned with that of human beings? And if they're not, what can happen? So there's a whole bunch of risks. There's the X risk, which is the extinction risk. So this is like the Terminator fear, Skynet. If you guys have seen the movies, oh my gosh, you know, AI is going to kill us all sort of thing. There is the S risk. So we went over X risk. There's the S risk, which is the suffering risk, where if we teach, and this is, I think, what a lot of these AI folks sit around and think about, and maybe you see in like a science fiction movie or something like that. But there's what's called the suffering risk. So if we teach AI to help us heal and get better, the worry is that these AI systems could, if they wanted to, torture us, heal us, torture us, heal us, torture us, heal us, till the end of time. Then, so this is just one of many, but the biggest risk I see out there is what's called M risk, which is the meaning risk. So we all work, but not just to pay bills. And I know this particularly of Geron, because I know you guys are focused on one or two things. You're focused on like 15 or 20 like I am. And it's, I think in part, and I don't want to speak for you, but it's because we find meaning in the work that we do. And we find that it's solving problems, it's helping people, and it helps us to establish our identity. Again, I don't want to speak for you guys, but that's how I feel about the work that I do, you know? And so if we're not working, what are we doing with our lives? So I think that's a big part of what people worry about is the meaning aspect of this, which is, if there's no work, and I've heard people talk about UBI, you guys familiar with that?
No.
So universal basic income, where the government basically gives just everyone a check.
In the United States.
Yeah, it's never going to happen. And then, and like the arguments for this are kind of ridiculous too, because they're like, well, if we just give everybody what they need to survive, more people are going to focus on art and the things that they really want to do. And this never happens. Like we have a whole bunch of examples of where this doesn't work. So if there's something that I would be worried about, I'm not worried about X risk. I'm not worried about S risk. I am a little worried about meaning risk. You know, if you start taking away jobs from people, and again, it doesn't make up the entirety of my identity. I'm sure the same with you guys, but it's a big part of it, you know? So I think that is something to be concerned about. But if we're narrowing this down to ABA, I am not concerned about ABA or behavior analysis more broadly.
Well, you guys heard it here first. And I remember even on our last episode when you spoke about something needing to go into our ethics code about, you know, being a human being needs to be, you know, BCBA or a human being back and forth in our ethics code. So I hope that, you know, the BACB is listening and we get that in there, because I think that resonates with a lot of people, especially with what's going on in the field right now. So cool. I want to kind of come to you really quickly as a business owner, you know, what Adam's saying with regard to like, what does it look like for you on a day-to-day right now with this kind of AI? And do you have any concerns with what we've been talking about a little bit here?
No, I think, you know, with Sapphire, I've been getting a lot more in depth with it. I love it. You know, I've kind of been an advocate for it from the beginning. I feel like it's one of those things where, like, if your grandparents didn't want to use Google when it came out, then the people who did were able to, you know, have more information and be more resourceful. And I feel like now it's just levels to AI. And I feel like that's kind of, I think, slightly concerning to me, is that, like, it's advancing extremely. We had a call this morning. This video, you could not tell this was AI video. Oh my gosh! Like, I got Sora. I'm on AI a lot. Like,
I know
you couldn't tell this was an AI video, and that part was scaring me, because that's somebody who's learning how to make perfect AI videos. And there's people who are doing the perfect Claude prompts, and you know. So I feel like there needs to be more education around AI. Like I said, it being such a mundane topic, and whether you agree with it or if you do or don't, it's here, and it has to just be more resources as far as telling people how to use it.
Yeah, I mean, literally, that's what Adam's doing today during his talk, and that's what he said. The contingencies are just too strong. At this point, we need to educate more about what it is.
We do, and since we're at SSU, what if the field is just not ready to teach it to the next generation?
And what
what if they're still using Microsoft Excel?
That's actually going on.
But it's actually going on. So we have a generation of behavior analysts that's upcoming that just won't be ready for what's coming.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's a like, you know, my generation, you know, I think Adam, we're closer in age, but if you weren't exposed to it, you know, I remember 20 years ago, cell phone. I had my first cell phone, right? You would never think we would have an iPhone 17 or 18 coming out.
But that's why I think it's important, like the work Adam's doing and some of his colleagues that are doing the work of the dissemination of talking about, like, obviously we need more people doing the work, but I think that's why it's important people are doing it. But it's so novel, and it's so, I'm sure you're learning stuff every day. Like, it's so novel, like people are still learning about it. It's hard.
How can I get to help if I'm not taught
I know.
how
I
to
see what
help
you're
in
saying.
2032.
I know.
Let
You
me
know what
say,
I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. I see what
Because
you're
I'm not
saying.
being taught to
Right.
help these kids in 2032.
Yes, I get that.
because we initially talked about our experience. If you were in school and you got your BCBA, it's way different than an online experience. It's way different. So now is the AI generation way different than the in-school experience?
So let me say this really quickly because there's a public thinker. His name is Eric Weinstein. He had a quote he was on Joe Rogan, and he had a quote, and he said about technology, broadly speaking, he said, "We're gods save for the wisdom." In other words, what he was getting at is, wow, we have all of this technology that we can do really cool things with, and it almost makes us gods, except we don't have the wisdom to use it properly. And I think this is where generations come in. And I think this newer generation, I am not comfortable with as comfortable with social media as a lot of my younger counterparts are.
Correct.
So they can teach me how to use it, but then I can teach them this is how you should use it.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
maybe you shouldn't be posting every single minute of your life, live streaming every moment of your life. Maybe that's not the best idea, and here's why. So I think that there's some bi-directional learning that can happen across generations.
But Adam, I'm gonna be honest with you. Bi-directional really doesn't happen with the generation that's coming behind us.
What do you mean? Yes, it does.
No, you don't listen.
It's like, no, that's not true. I do listen. But that's almost a form of mentorship in itself, too. I'm going to talk about that another time, but the younger generation actually can mentor the older generation in some ways.
No, it's very true.
He was describing. Because I have a lot of knowledge in certain areas, but you can kind of help me and shape my behaviors in other ways as well. So I have some.
No, I mean, and just transparency moment, I do learn from these guys. Like, they are younger than me. They put me on to Chad and Claude and Introvert, like things that I was still doing Excel sheets.
So don't talk about this generation, man.
But Adam, the bi-directional part, they don't listen to us.
Here's the thing, and because so this is one of the basic precepts of behavior analysis, that all relationships are bi-directional.
Correct.
So here's the thing about the younger generation is, yes, they've got some behavioral patterns, I think, that the older generations are not fond of. However, if you look at it, in the other direction, Aubrey Daniels' famous quote was, "The measure of a leader is in the behavior of the follower," right? So this speaks a bit to the leadership of the older generations with the younger generations. So do younger generations have problems? Yes. But where were the older generations in leading them and coaching them along the way?
That's true.
So I think that there's an interesting generational argument that can be made here.
So I want to stay on this topic just for a quick second, right? Because I was thinking about this as you were just going along. What do you think makes you a strong leader? Like, what's important to you as a leader? And what do you think is a trait of yours that is like, that's you right there?
Passionate. And I took some time to think about this the other day, about what passion means. So the word passion comes from the Latin term passio, meaning to suffer. So if you say that you're passionate about something, you're saying, I'm willing to suffer to do this.
Correct.
So when I start a new business or a new project, I put so much of myself into it. I sacrifice so much of the rest of my life to do that.
Correct.
And I think that people are inspired by that. If they see somebody putting in the time, the effort, the resources into something, they're willing to follow you a little bit more. And, leadership is different for everybody. There's lots of different ways you can do it. But, if you're asking me specifically, that's how I find success in leadership, is showing that I'm willing to put in the same work that they are.
And you've evolved so much, Adam. I'll tell you a quick personal story. I won't name any names, but I was talking to one of your students from a long time ago at Florida. Like, you taught this person a long time ago. She's doing well now. She lives in Georgia. But she was talking about attending one of your classes, and she was like, "Yeah, he's a stickler, and all this kind of good stuff." She was like, he was grading hard, stuff like that. But she spoke about like your evolution now, and like just to kind of see what you're doing now. She said your passion has kind of always been there, and she was just kind of really inspired by a lot of the things that you were doing now. So it sounds like also I don't know if it's leadership style or your passion, but like your passion's always shown up now, but like also it's probably evolved in some senses from when you were a teacher, probably a young business owner then to now then. So I'm curious, like if people are listening who are, I guess, trying to find their leadership style and their passion and they're kind of young, what would be your advice to people who maybe don't have a mentor or don't have anybody to kind of talk to and they want to kind of improve their leadership style from where you were at maybe 20 years ago to now? What would be your piece of advice to them?
My dad gave me great advice. I got a lot of great advice from my dad over the years. And one of the things that he told me is that in life, the very best thing that you can do is the right thing. Mm-hmm. The next best thing that you can do is the wrong thing. And the absolute worst thing that you can do is nothing. And, as, the more I learned about behavior analysis, the more that made sense, because even if you do the wrong thing, you're adding a non-exemplar to your behavioral repertoire. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I screwed that up, but you know what? I know not to do that again.
Correct.
So I would say the advice I would give to people out there is try something. Mm-hmm. If you're not sure what to do, try something. Go out there, give it a shot, and you'll learn something from it. So I don't think everyone needs a mentor. And I think we should be careful with mentorship versus coaching. I think there's a whole discussion to have around the differences between the two of those.
So what's the difference to you?
So I'm more of a fan of coaching than I am of mentorship. I think there's certain circumstances where mentorship is helpful, but with mentorship, that typically implies a long-term relationship. And I'm an old school behavior analyst. When I got into the field, everything everywhere was about pushing independence. Mm-hmm. So yes, you want to teach people skills. You wanted to promote generalization and check for maintenance, and then you want to get them out there on their own.
Correct.
All right, that's weird for a man that's very big on marriage and commitment. Because that means that you're saying that the people that for mentorship, you're like, I don't really need you to be in my life that long. But I think that things kind of build stronger after 5, 10, 15, let's say Joe and I, right? Like we started out helping me submit PAs, but that's like a real big brother, right? Was also kind of a mentor. And
we started out SkyCare when I was a BCBA and you were an RBT. And we started with a client.
We had a client together, yes.
And that's where we evolved. So yes. I think now it's coaching, but it's bi-directional.
So me and Joe have a conversation all the time, right? So when us having this conversation, when I'm hearing coaching, I'm also thinking of money, right? Which that is involved with mentorship and coaching. But I think sometimes when it's money involved, I'm not getting the same genuine relationship as if you're just my man and I'm just calling you like, hey, Adam, even we doing business together, right? And I think that it's a form of mentorship still, right? And, we give game back and forth, but I do think that even with us, doing business together in 3 to 5 years, you can say, hey, I want to sell, but you still my man now. You know what I'm saying? It's still a thing of like, hey, in 10 years, you doing Intraverbal when you did $1 billion, like, oh, can I get that game? So that's just my, right. That's just my take on, mentorship.
Okay, to your point, and this is another conversation because I know we got to wrap up. Oh, yeah. Minutes. A coach can be a mentor. A mentor inherently is Adam, you can answer this. A mentor is a coach, though, right? Mm. So if you're a mentor, you got to have a little bit of coach to you, though, don't you? If you're a mentor, because you're coaching somebody in certain ways, or do you operation define it a little bit differently when you think about mentorship and coaching?
I do. So I want to first of all direct everyone to you guys know Paul Gavoni.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's awesome, man. He's awesome. So, and he's written a few different books about the difference between training, management, coaching.
Different hats that you wear.
Yeah. The different hats. Mm-hmm. That's right. So definitely check out his entire book collection talks about this in different ways. And we don't have all the time to go into it right now. Mm-hmm. But let me get back to what you were mentioning earlier. And I'm going to use the relationship between you and Joe. So I would imagine when you guys met, if you went to Joe for advice, however we want to categorize it, coaching, mentorship, training, whatever. Okay. You went to Joe for advice. He gave you some advice and then maybe he gave you some feedback. Yeah, maybe do this and this and that. But I would imagine at some point, if you went to Joe too many times and kept asking the same question, Joe is going to say, you need to figure that out on your own. Yeah. And I think that's a big part of, again, now, like the lens that I see so many things through now is as a parental lens. And I do this with my son all the time. Yeah. He's 1 year and 10 months and I'll go over a few things with him. And then he just learned to say help in different contexts. So he's like, Dad, help. And if I've already gone over things with him, I'll either prompt him to do it on his own, or I'll just sit back and wait till he stops and then does it on his own. So I think I don't think that there's any wrong statement here. I think that this is a little more art than science, you know, and you need to start, give people instructions, but you need to back off at some point and just be like, listen, well, I mean, you need to figure things out on your own. And I think fading prompts so that people can reach independence is a critical part of helping people.
But there's always new things going on to give. It's always new game to give, I feel like. So even like with your son, right? You know, with the thing of help, like now we could do it in a different language. Now we could do it. So there's always more kind of game to get. I do get what you're saying. You know, nobody needs to hold your hand and walk every step with you. But I do think there is a art kind of in what you were saying in that guidance, I guess. So I think we're just saying the same thing differently.
I think you can use it interchangeably as well.
Yeah.
All right, guys. This episode is probably brought to you by Intraverbal AI. Guys, this is something you got to pay attention to. If you got to focus on burnout, time constraints, and you have a lot on your plate as a clinician, please check out Intraverbal AI. Now, I know what you guys have been waiting on. Let's move to Straight Talk with Joe. What you got for us, Joe?
Well, Adam, you just talked about how you would guide your son. 2 years later, you got a little girl. Adam, it's a little different. How, from the parental lens, and maybe the response class is different, but how would you treat your daughter differently than your son? Because you're not going to tell your daughter who fell down, hey, try it up. And she's crying, and she's looking at you dead in the eyes with those eyes that get big, and she's crying.
That's a real thing.
You're not going to say, try it again. What are you going to say now, Adam?
That's a great question.
That's honest.
I can't do it if my daughter. No, okay, come here. I'll help you get it.
So this is really interesting because this is top of mind for me. Last night we were driving to my parents' house for dinner. And it was a long drive. It was like a 50-minute drive. We got stuck in traffic. So my wife and I were having this discussion about having a little girl. We were talking about names and all the rest of that stuff. And I went to her and I'm like, you know, you're going to have to help me out with this, you know, because, you know, there's just things that I don't understand as well as you do. And I help her out with things with our son. So every once in a while, you know, I see him trying to take advantage of her, you know, and he's a year and 10 months old. And he's already working her, you know, and I heard it from like the other room last week and I came in and she's like, I don't know, this and that. And I just went over to him and I'm like, no. And he's like, and then walked away. And, you know, so I think that there's nuances that I can offer into understanding boys and nuances that she can offer to me in understanding girls. And I think that lends itself to the idea that it's important to have two people there. To have two people there that can offer different insights. And I think we've been doing that up to this point with a boy. And eventually, God willing, if we have a girl, she'll be able to give me that insight as well. And it's not just she tells me everything on how to raise a girl and I tell her everything on how to raise a boy. There's also the flip side of that. How do men see women and how do women see men? So it's both of those things. So we offer insight to each other. And my wife and I were just talking about this last night as well. So much of this is top of mind. And, you know, she said to me, and she's like, I feel like it's only been almost 2 years since we had our first son and we're already so much wiser and we already know so much already that we're going to start applying all of that to our next son and not make any of those mistakes. So
let me ask you a question to piggyback off of Joe. How has it been being so driven, being so ambitious, and having a 1 year old, right? Because I'm sure there's a lot of times where you do want to be home, do you want to be on the road? So how are you finding that balance right now and then continue to still grow and so do so much?
The first few months when we had our son, it was rough. I tried to do everything. I tried to do all of the work and all of the professional work and then half of the stuff with my wife. And I ended up getting pneumonia. I got really sick. I got really sick. And, you know, then my wife and I had to sit down like 3 months in. We're like, I can't do that. You know, I can't do that again. You can't have two sinking ships. So we reorganized our schedule, and we've got a well-oiled machine right now. Everybody knows what they need to do on what days. We've got family help during the week, and then Saturday, my wife has my son, and Sunday, I have him. So we set up days and a schedule. This is when you're doing this. This is when you're doing that. And my wife's a behavior analyst, and she's so fastidious and organized. And dope. She already created like a 5-page schedule for how things are going to work. Where we have the third time. Well, we have the third time.
Know what? As I hear you describe this, I have to kind of give a shout out to my single parents, because what Adam is talking about with how it takes two to understand that. When you see a single parent out there and you still the product of that child it's so much more. I feel like you have to invest in parenthood in that regard. So although we speak about the 2-parent household, I'm going to just give a shout out to all the single parents I know that are navigating and doing that, because that's hard. It's hard enough to do it. It's hard enough to do with 2 parents,
especially with a special needs child.
Yes. Ooh. Oh, yes. And that's what the data is showing with divorce rates and stuff like that because of the stress. That's hard. So shout out to all of our single parents that are doing that as well. Okay, let's go ahead and transition. It's been about 3 months probably since we've been able to put one of these out for you guys. So, Coop, what you got for us today? Let's transition to Coop's Off the Clock.
Okay, we'll keep it simple, right? So I actually just found out you were Cuban, Adam, right?
Adam's black.
Yes, right? So,
really?
I want you, right, to tell us your favorite Cuban dish.
So I grew up in Miami. My dad's Cuban. My dad came when he was a kid from Cuba. And
what's your mom?
She's American.
Okay.
Her parents are Italian and Irish, something like that. Growing up, I grew up in Miami, so I grew up in and around Hispanic culture. I would say I ate nothing but Cuban food when I was a kid.
Okay.
I would say there's a specific type of pastry that we eat, guava pastries, and it's made in a certain way, especially in Miami. It's really, really bad for you, but it tastes awesome.
Okay, so we got to get next time we come to Miami.
You gotta have a guava pastry. I'll take you guys to a few different places, and then the rest of Cuban food is fantastic, but it will put you to sleep immediately. Like it's heavy food.
My stomach hurts.
It's heavy food.
Some enzymes.
You'll gain like 5-7 pounds from like one meal. So it's a lot to take in, but it tastes phenomenal.
Oh, I love that. Are you raising your son bilingual?
Yes.
Okay.
So half of the words we teach him are I would say probably 75% of the words are in English, and then 25% of the words are in Spanish. And we're trying to figure that out. Like my wife actually did some of her dissertation work, language and early learner language and that sort of thing. So we kind of go back and forth on the literature as to, do you raise your kids in a 1-language household or a 2-language household? So we're kind of doing a mix and seeing how it goes with our first kid, and then kind of applying it to the second kid. But his very first word was agua, water. So he's got some words in English, some words in Spanish.
Yeah, my son just started speaking Spanish. His grandma she doesn't speak English, so he's 3. He's starting to be able to have conversations and say those stuff. So
that's great.
I feel like it's so. especially when like Miami, like being bilingual. Most people are, but like Georgia's a little bit different. So, now I'm going to give a shout out to Savannah State for letting us record here once again, to the university for letting Adam to be here. Adam, if there's one quick takeaway as we wrap up here that you want people to take away from your presentation later today, what would it be?
The importance of getting in early on AI, getting better at using it. I've seen some people write off AI altogether and just say, I'm never going to use that. In fact, I saw an older behavior analyst post that on LinkedIn last night. And I was reading that on the plane this morning. It's like, I refuse to use it.
Your boys like that.
I feel like, I feel bad. This is like somebody, 20 years ago or, 30 years ago saying, I'm never going to use the internet or something like that, or I'm not going to use a computer. I'm going to stick with my typewriter forever. And, it's just, I've seen people talk about AI at the level of computers or telephones. That's how serious of a technology this is. So get to use it now, practice with it, take courses on how to best use it. I said this before that, the future of most knowledge work fields is going to involve prompt engineering, which from a behavior analytic perspective is really pinpointing and man training. So get better at that. Know what you want and how to ask for what you want.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Adam. And thank you for everything you're doing for the ABA community and continuing to share insights. Stay tuned to more insights with Intraverbal AI, guys. We just doing a lot of big things, man. We appreciate you. This is a last minute recording, so we appreciate you hopping on and, wishing you the best of luck in all your endeavors. Guys, anything else you guys want to add to that?
I'm ready. I'm ready for 4 o'clock.
So we're gonna head over there to 4 o'clock to see Adam talk. Thank you guys again for listening. Please check out Intraverbal AI. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you guys.